Right, at the end of this video tutorial, you'll understand what inverse functions are. Right, the inverse function is a rule that reverses the input and output values of a function. Right, let's take for example this function y is equal to 2x. Right, we'll have the input values and then we'll have the output values. Right, let's say now this is the function. Now let's say now the input value is 3. Right, if you put 3 into the function and then what you get is the output, you will get 6, isn't it? Okay, this is the function. The inverse function reverses this. So the inverse function for this will be y is equal to half x. I'll show you how I get this equation. Right, let's check. Right, now the output value is like the input value. Now we're going this way. So where there's x, we put 6. And then are we going to get 3? Let's see that. And then half times 6, what you get? You get 3. You see that? So this inverse function reverses the input and output values of the function. So this is the inverse of this. So that's what the inverse is. The inverse is a rule that reverses the input and output values of a function, right? And then we usually use this. We say, I'm going to use f here, but the function, remember, can be g of x, can be h of x, can be m of x. Let's use f for this tutorial. So if f represents a function, then f to the power -1 is the inverse function. That's the notation we use. Right, let's look at the graphs of this function. The graphs of the function. Right, a function graph and an inverse graph reflect each other about the line y is equal to x. The function graph and the inverse graph reflect each other about the line y is equal to x. We've said a function graph and the inverse graph reflect each other about the line y is equal to x. Let's illustrate that. Let's say we have y is equal to 3x minus 6, right? This is the function, okay? So the inverse, like I said, I'm going to show you how to get the inverse. The inverse for this function will be, I just want to show you how these two graphs reflect each other about the line y is equal to x, right? So let's have our x-axis and y-axis. Right, let's start with the graph of f. The y-intercept will be 0, -6. You can calculate that, right? And then the x-intercept of f will be 2, 0. So this is 2, 0 here, right? And then we can sketch the graph. Okay, let's do the inverse. The y-intercept for the inverse is 0, 2. So it's going to be here. And then the x-intercept is going to be -6, 0. And then we sketch these two graphs. This is the line y is equal to x. Right, then we can sketch the graph of f. This is f. And then we can sketch the graph of the inverse of f. These are the graphs of f and its inverse. We can clearly see that these two graphs reflect each other about the line y is equal to x. I want you to check something here. If you check the coordinates of the x-intercept of f are 2, 0, and then the coordinates of the y-intercept of the inverse are 0, 2. Do you see that? Do you see that it's like the x value becomes the y value and the y value becomes the x value? Even if you check this side, 0, -6, then this side is -6, 0. So the x value becomes the y value here, and then the y value becomes the x value there. Okay, but we're going to discuss later about this. How do we determine the equation of the inverse function? I'll use this example. So the first step number 1, interchange x and y in your equation. It's just 2 steps. It's just two steps. So here we have y and we have x. So we interchange these two. Where there's x, we put y. Where there's y, we put x. It becomes x is equal to 3y minus 6. That's the first step. And then second step, make y the subject of the formula. Then done. You just have to be careful here. So I'll maintain this 3y this side. It's on one side, so it's not changing. And then it is the negative 6 that will jump the equal sign and join x. So it becomes x plus 6. Okay. And then we divide everything by 3. So y is equal to x over 3 plus 6 over 3, which is y is equal to 1 over 3 x plus 2. Okay, or you can write it like this. This is like 1 over 3x. X over 3 is like 1 over 3x. Okay, this is the inverse of this function. Okay, this is the inverse of f. We'll do more questions as we look at the inverses of linear functions, exponential functions, and quadratic functions.